So a company with strong sales but weak retention is running on a treadmill. So net customer revenue retention shows whether existing customers are buying more services, maintenance plans, system upgrades, or slowly drifting away. So the best HVAC companies consistently push this metric above 1.1, 110%. And so yeah, so I'm going to calculate all this and I'm going to show you how to do this. It's a little bit complex, but bear with me. And so here in the data set, what we have, pretty in-depth data set. I work with several HVAC shops, so I'm sort of familiar with what the data looks like. And so what we have is pretty basic stuff, customer ID, customer type, acquisition date, when did you acquire them? How did you acquire them? What area are they in? Do they have a maintenance plan? And then the main thing that we're going to need is we're going to need these things here, like revenue, service revenue, install revenue, ending revenue, things like that. And then we want expansion revenue and contraction revenue. And then churn revenue. And so then we just have to calculate these columns here, and I'll show you how to do all this. And then we can go on to the chart. And so the first thing we want is we want to strip out the month from here. The month from the snapshot month. So equals text, comma, and then 4 M's. And then you'll see that's going to give you the month here. And then we're going to do the same thing, equals text to get the year, comma, and then 4 Y's. And then enter, and then you can see that gave us the year. And so the existing thing, to find what we're going to do is we're going to get the unique list of the snapshot date, and then from there we're just going to do it on 2026. So we need to find which customer was from December 2025. And so what we can do first is I'll just do the month here just to show you. So equals unique, we want a unique list of the snapshot date. So equals unique, and then right here. You'll notice it's in a table. And so we have all that. Let me just format it as a date. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to delete everything from 2025. Of course, you can do 2025, but I'm just going to do 1 year of data. It just makes the chart a little bit cleaner. Doesn't necessarily mean that not having, 2025 isn't useful. But now what we need to do is we need to see what customers did we have December 31st or December 2025. And so that's what this count here is. So we're going to do, now that we have the month and the year, we can do equals COUNTIFS. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the COUNTIFS of this ID here, comma, this ID, comma. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the month here, comma, and I'm just going to type in December, comma, and then for the year here, comma, and then I'm going to type in 2025. It's going to take a second to calculate, and you can see we have this now. So now we can do all of the sums based off of this being a 1. And so that's how we do this formula. So what I'm going to do here is, what you can see is as you go to the bottom, you have more zeros. They're not all 1s. But now what we can do is we can just delete these 3 because it's those same 3 columns here. I just wanted to show you how to do it. Okay, so now we need to calculate the beginning revenue, the expansion, meaning how much more money did they spend with us, the contraction, how much less money did they spend with us, and then the churn, right? This is a churn from the revenue. And what you'll notice is that the ending equals the beginning, right? And then we have a net revenue retention, and then we have a target, and that's how we're gonna calculate this. Okay, I'm just gonna copy these column headings. You can type them in if you want. Also, if you want this spreadsheet, there's a link to download it with my solutions, with my formulas, with everything. Okay, so to get the beginning revenue, what we're going to do here is you'll see the formula, we're going to sum the beginning revenue column if the existing customer is 1. Remember the 1 and the 0. So we only want to do it if it's 1. So sum if s here. So beginning revenue, comma, where this comma is 1, and then comma, and then snapshot month here, comma, is this. Let's see, what am I doing wrong? Because here I did 12, and it should be 1. Okay, so we have all this. So that makes sense. And then now expansion. I'll show you something. So what we can do is, instead of redoing the formula the whole time, because everything else is the same except for expansion, revenue, contraction revenue, churn revenue. But what we can do is we can use the same exact formula. We just have to change that section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to paste it here. And then let me just format this the same for all of these. Okay, so now we want expansion revenue. So instead of beginning revenue, we want expansion revenue, which is here. And then instead of beginning revenue, we want contraction revenue. And then instead of beginning revenue, we want churn. And then you can just double click that down. Yeah, it just saves some time instead of having to go back and forth and back and forth. So the ending revenue is going to be the sum of these two minus the sum of these two, right? So equals the sum of these two minus the sum of these two. And the way you know this is working is that this is a different formula, right? So this equals this. And so that makes sense. And so you can see this equals this, and then this would equal, the future. This would equal January 27. So to calculate the next part, the NRR, is just ending divided by beginning. So equals this divided by this. That tells you whether it's growth or expansion. And so you can see here, 352, you started with 285, but you ended with 352, right? So it grew 23%. And then for the target, we'll just do 100%, because less than 100 means you're declining, more than 100 means you're, growing. You're getting, more money out of your existing leads. And so yeah, that's how you calculate it. Pretty straightforward. Let me create the chart. So what we're going to do is month, and then hold down control, and then highlight these two. And then I'm going to go to insert, and then recommended charts, and then you have this chart here. If you can't find it, if it's not showing for some reason, you can go to all charts. You can also do a column if you want, instead of, but the column is the percentage, which is a little bit weird. But if that's what you want, then that's fine. But I just want to make this a line. And so now you have both. And let me just go here real quick just to steal this title. And so yeah, that's essentially how you do it. A couple other maybe small things we could do. Let me just make these columns a little bit narrower. So one thing you could do is, if you want the axis here, 160 might not show the variability as much, although I think this is fine. But with your data, if you're not working from this spreadsheet, then you might want, maybe up to 140. It'll just show just a little bit more variation. And then if you want the values on the blue line, you can click on the chart, and then you'll see this crosshair, and you can do data labels. But you can see it's too noisy. So what you can do is click on the blue line and then do it that way. And if it gets a little bit hard to see for some reason, then you can, if it's hard to see here, you can click, and then you can just put a background there, just like that. I mean, you could make it bold. I mean, you could make the text, maybe here you want to make the text a little bit smaller or bigger, however you want to do, because also as you shrink it, you'll see more, it'll just look a little bit different, or if you want the axes to look different. So there's a lot of different things you could do. But in the end, that's how you calculate this. I mean, again, if you want this data set, there's a link to download it. You can shoot me an email if you can't find it. But I also understand, like, it could be hard to get this data. Like, the hardest part of all of this is getting this data. And the way it works is you have, how much, let me just pick a customer here. Or let me do, I think what I did earlier, there was 14 was good. And so you can see that this is in sequential order, but you can see that, beginning revenue was nothing because they just started. And then they did an installation. And so that was the ending revenue, which is also the beginning revenue here. But they did nothing this month. So there was a contraction. And then they did nothing, nothing, nothing. But then here they did another project. They did whatever it was. There's a column here somewhere saying what they did. And so then they did that, and so that's the beginning. Oh, sorry, it's from here. They had a service which was here, and so there was no contraction, it was expansion. But then the next month there was the beginning revenue is the prior month's expansion, but because nothing was done, now it's contraction, right? So a little bit challenging to do, but in the end, yeah, so that's it for this one. And if you have any questions, if you need some help structuring this data, then let me know. There's a link to my calendar, or you can just shoot me an email. But that's it for this one, and I'll see you in future videos.